Oh, snap! It's another Snap review from the Family Gamers.
After years of research and searching, you have concluded that the Legend of El Dorado is, in fact, just a myth. But wait, unexpectedly, the Amazon holds one last clue to the mystery of El Dorado.
This is a Snap review for Deckscape, The Mystery of El Dorado. This is a pocket escape room by Martino Chiacchiera and Silvano Sorrentino. It's published by DV Giochi and intended for 1 all the way up to 6 players, ages 12 and up. In this Deckscape game, you'll gradually work your way through the 60-card deck, solving puzzles and gaining clues to The Mystery of El Dorado.
Boom, boom, boom.
So let's talk about the art in this game.
Alberto Bontepi's art is clear, but sometimes I think it's a little more cartoony than we kind of want it to be. Some cards held clues to various puzzles, while others presented choices. Some did both. The only clues we didn't really get, air quote, were thankfully not the only way to solve their particular puzzles.
Some of the card-based puzzles were really, really small, which made it challenging for us to solve them together in a group. They were really only visible by one person at a time.
There's a folded up piece of paper in the game that held the key to several puzzles, but it still felt like it was serving its job. You'll understand if you play. It wasn't just some contrived picture that was really just there to serve the puzzles. That was a nice change from some of the other escape boxes we've tried. So let's talk about the mechanics of Deckscape.
Deckscape feels a bit like a choose-your-own-adventure book in the form of a deck of cards. You're going to move forward through the deck and solve puzzles as you come to them. Once you think you've solved a puzzle, flip the card over to find the solution.
What this means is sometimes you'll find a card that will give you some options on where to go next. It'll instruct you to take this stack and put it in one pile, a second stack and put it in a second pile, and maybe a third stack into a third pile, which gives you this idea of branching paths. Choose your own adventure.
Because of the way it's structured, most of the puzzles in the game can only be attempted once. We only found one exception to this rule. Discuss the puzzle as a group and make sure that you've decided on an answer before you flip the card.
Sometimes you'll pick up helpful items that will assist in later on puzzles, and some puzzles will require the use of specific items. Here and there you'll find hints or hint cards available to you from earlier puzzles. Some of them are more obvious than others.
If the group fails a puzzle, you'll take a penalty, either Z's or X's. Z penalties represent hunger and tiredness and are easier to remove. Don't forget to use pencil to record these. X's count against your score at the end of the game.
Once you get to the end of the deck, the game is over. Record how long it took you to finish the deck and add your penalties. Then compare yourself to the chart. How were you at solving the mystery? So Anisha, what did we expect from Deckscape, the Mystery of El Dorado?
Well, based on the name, we expected a card-based escape room.
I think it even says it's essentially an escape room on the box.
Yeah.
It was pretty reasonable to expect that.
It does differ from the card-driven Unlock games, which are also escape rooms, but it still had some of the same shortfalls. It's hard for more than 2 people to study a single card to get your clues.
So we had to pass cards around the table, and this actually negatively impacted our completion time at the end.
Yeah, there was a lot of passing cards for puzzles that were a little bit more complex, and then the puzzles that were easier, the first person who saw the card solved them and just passed the card around the table saying, "Does this look right?"
Well, we wanted everyone to feel included, so there you go. After playing Detective Bloody Red Roses, you can see our snap review for that, we were hopeful that this would have more in common with that style of play than the typical look for this card escape box.
We were looking forward to finding out what this deck of cards and paper brochure had in store for us.
So based on those expectations, what surprised us about this Deckscape game?
Well, first of all, this Deckscape felt way more like a story than a lot of the other escape room games that we've played. There was a real narrative here with goals that changed slightly over the course of the game.
That's right. We talked briefly before about the Unlock games, which are app-driven. Deckscape has no app. It is purely the deck of cards. But the narrative story in Deckscape definitely carried through better than what we would experience in those games.
For the entirety of this game, you're lost in the Amazon jungle, so it shouldn't be a surprise that bad things keep happening to you. However, when we found a card that said, "You are lost," our daughter playing with us just said, "Okay."
Ultimately, we love escape boxes, but there's something to be said for the lack of immersion. You're sitting at your dining room table, you can't change that. So we're not going to be fully immersed and have the gravitas of being hopeless, which is what that's trying to evoke.
As we mentioned earlier, you'll split out portions of the deck after solving the first puzzle. This structure makes it look like there are branching paths where you need to choose a path to go down. But in reality, you'll need to visit everything or nearly everything.
And honestly, the order matters. If you solve a puzzle correctly but without the necessary items, air quote, you'll still take a penalty. Fortunately, since we were playing this with the family, there were tons of places to get hints, which kept the difficulty level rather low. There are 2 side quests that give you a list of hints itemized by card number. Some of these were absolutely invaluable, and it made us happy that we had those cards available to us.
I thought for sure we'd be done with this Deckscape in an hour. But even though it never felt too difficult, it still took us right around 90 minutes. I didn't mind that, but it was a surprise. I'll make sure we allow enough time the next time we play one of these games.
Ultimately, it really boils down to how desperate you are to score well on this. We didn't rush through this either. We played it at a relatively relaxed pace, and again, we shared the cards around the table to make sure everybody felt included. If we were desperately trying to make it in under that 1 hour mark, we might have been able to do so.
All in all, we had really high hopes for Deckscape, The Mystery of El Dorado, after playing Detective Bloody Red Roses. So it might not be fair to measure this Deckscape game against that. We did like it more than most of the Unlock boxes that we've played.
Well, you liked it more than most of the Unlock boxes that we've played. I actually prefer the Unlock system a little bit, but I did enjoy the narrative flow that moved through this Deckscape box a little bit better because it felt like a more cohesive story, not just scaffolding for puzzles. One more thing I do want to add. We're comparing this to Unlock and not necessarily the exit boxes because this is not a destructible game. This is a game that you can move on to someone else after you're done playing with it.
Just like Unlock.
Yep.
So Andrew, what would we rate Deckscape, The Mystery of El Dorado?
Well, it was fun. So for an enjoyable time, even though there were a few bumps along the way, we rate Deckscape, The Mystery of El Dorado 3.5 golden treasures out of 5. And that's Deckscape, The Mystery of El Dorado in a snap.